go. Afternoon, everybody. A couple things here at the top, if I could. As you may have seen last night, the DPRK fired 2 short-range missiles towards the Sea of Japan. These launches are in violation of multiple UN Security Council resolutions. And these activities highlight the destabilizing impact of the DPRK's illicit weapons program. Our commitment to the defense of the Republic of Korea and Japan remains ironclad, and I think you saw the statement earlier today about that. This morning, Secretary Austin welcomed the Australian Minister for Defense, Peter Dutton, here to the Pentagon. We're proud to stand alongside our Australian allies to strengthen deterrence and defend our shared values and our shared interests in the Indo-Pacific region. The U.S.-Australia relationship is what we're proud to call the unbreakable alliance. Our increasing convergence and alignment on the most important strategic issues attest to the enduring value of this partnership. We're cooperating closely on force posture, strategic capabilities, regional engagement, and, of course, military operations. And ultimately, we're cooperating on all that strengthens our ability to deter threats to a free and open Indo-Pacific. Tomorrow, Secretary Austin and Minister Dutton will join Secretary of State Blinken and the Australian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Maurice Payne, for 2+2 meetings over there at Foggy Bottom at the State Department. Also this week, the Navy completed a new milestone, the first aerial refueling of an F-35C Lightning II aircraft by an MQ-25 unmanned platform on Monday. The milestone is significant because unmanned tanking capabilities will free up the Navy's strike fighters that are currently carrying out the tanking mission, delivering greater range and then endurance for the carrier air wing to execute missions. Once operational, MQ-25s will refuel every receiver-capable carrier-based aircraft. And then finally, more on schedule for the Navy, the Secretary of the Navy and the Chief of Naval Operations are hosting more than 100 international delegates, including heads of navies and coast guards, in person and virtually at the U.S. Naval War College up in Newport, Rhode Island, for this year's International Sea Power Symposium. The symposium provides a forum for dialogue between international navies and coast guards to bolster maritime security. And with that, we'll take questions. Bob.
Hey, John, thank you. I have a question for you on the August 29th drone strike in Kabul.
Yeah.
Was that vehicle tracked and targeted because of its activities and the belief that it was carrying explosives, or was it tracked and targeted because the driver was believed or known to be an ISIS operative?
Yeah, Bob, as you know, Central Command is continuing to assess this strike, and I just don't want to get out ahead of their work on this.
So you can't say what the reason for targeting it was in the first place?
I can't speak to that at this time. I'm going to let CENTCOM complete their work and then and let them speak to what they find as a result of that. I think that's the best course right now. Jennifer.
John, there are 2 allegations in the new Woodward-Costa book that have to do with this building, in particular whether General Milley inserted himself into the nuclear launch process. Is there anything unusual that you've seen, or that is the Defense Secretary concerned about the reports that General Milley inserted himself into tried to stop the president at the time from having the ability to launch nuclear weapons? Can you explain how the process works? And it's been explained to us that he went through, reviewed the procedures, and that he told them that he should be on any conference call with the president, that's part of the procedures. Is that part of the nuclear procedures? I'm confused.
Well, I certainly can't speak to the revelations that are coming out in the book. I think you saw a statement by the chairman's office specifically addressing this issue. What I can tell you is that it is not uncommon at all for the department to continue to review security protocols, particularly when it comes to our strategic deterrence capabilities, that we constantly take a look at the protocols and the procedures to make sure that they are still relevant. And these Protocols have been in place for a long time, a couple of decades, and so it's not uncommon. It's also completely appropriate, and again, I'm not speaking to the validity of things that are in the book, but it is completely appropriate for the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as the senior military advisor to both the Secretary and the President, to want to see those protocols reviewed on whatever frequent basis that he wants to do that. So again, I can't speak to the validity, but I see nothing in what I've read that would cause any concern.
What is the chairman's role in terms of the nuclear launch, if there were a nuclear launch by the president?
Well, the chairman is the key military advisor to the president, to the commander-in-chief, and in a sequence of events whereby a commander-in-chief would be making that decision, that most grave of decisions, the chairman would be intimately involved in that process, in providing advice and counsel to both the secretary and to the president. Obviously, the president in this case makes the final decision, and by statute, by law, he is the prime military advisor to the president, and this would be a military decision of profound proportions here and importance. So he would be absolutely involved in that process, soup to nuts.
And was there anything unusual said to the Chinese counterpart in the phone calls, as far as you understand?
Well, again, all I've seen is the same reporting that you've seen, Jen. I can't speak to the specifics of the conversation, a conversation that took place obviously before this administration took office. But I would add, if I may, again, that it is not only common, it's expected that a chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff would continue to have counterpart conversations. I mean, he is basically the chief of defense for the United States. We don't call him that, but he has chief of defense counterparts around the world. And having worked for a chairman myself for quite a bit, I can tell you frequent communication with two countries like Russia and China is not atypical at all for a chairman of the Joint Chiefs. And those communications are they're routine, they're staffed, they're coordinated, and they're transparent, as transparent as they can be.
Would it also be routine in these counterpart conversations if the United States was planning to strike one of these locations for the chairman to inform his counterpart that the U.S. was about to strike, as is quoted in the World
Yeah, again, I'm not going to get into the confirming or speaking to details in reported.
Would that be a common part of these conversations? Is if the United States was planning to conduct a strike on a location,
right,
would the chairman then call his counterpart to alert them to an incoming strike?
Without speaking to that hypothetical, what I again would say is that these parts of the value, a part of the value of having these communications, particularly with countries like Russia and China, with which we are experiencing tension, is to try to reduce the risks of miscalculation and conflict, to try to take down tensions, to